Good morning. I hope you all got some goodies that Gary and Liz Rudolph brought in. They're beautiful.
And Dr. Mercer.
And I appreciate you coming this bright and early morning. We have 3 people from one of our neighbors. As many of you, if you mentioned, we're trying to get to know our neighbors. We're trying to bring in people that are in our neighborhood to talk about what they do, where they are, and we want to know one another better. So it gives me pleasure this morning to introduce 3 people from SunsetHills Memorial Park and Funeral. SunsetHills Memorial Park and Funeral Home, and they're going to talk a little bit about the facility and the history, and one of my favorite things that they do upcoming, the Memorial Day event. Sally, come forward and tell us your full name and your title, please.
Good morning, folks. My name is Sally Estoy, and I'm the general manager at SunsetHills. First and foremost, I want to thank you for allowing us to be here. Thank you to Sherry and to Ed who have kind of coordinated this for us. I want to introduce to you Vesper, who is our family service manager, and then Christian Jacoby at the back, who most of you have probably met with. Real quick, I just want to share that I have been with the company going on 16 years, and I'm very passionate in what I do to serve our client families, along with my peers and staff members at SunsetHills. SunsetHills has been established since 1936. We have a brand new funeral home, if some of you aren't aware of that already. We've been there a little bit over a year now. We moved in December of 2024. Our cemetery has 59 acres, and of that, 31 is developed, with 3 to 4 more acres in process of being developed for more burial interment spaces that we offer and have a number of options. So if you haven't had the opportunity to visit SunsetHills, it is an open park. We are located really maybe 7 minutes away from here on 145th, cross street of Camber, across the QFC. You'll see our brand new funeral home, and as you enter what was the 2 golden gates, it is a single gate now, but it enters into the new funeral home side on your left, and then as you proceed, you'll gain entry into the cemetery. With this cemetery, if you haven't already visited, we have multiple gardens, pristine landscaping, a great view of downtown Bellevue and downtown Seattle. And I highly encourage guests to come and visit during the time that what's the aircraft? When the Blue Angels come and practice. It is a perfect place to be and watch them overhead. It's beautiful, and I love it. It roars the entire building. So with SunsetHills, we have a number of services that we provide, and with that too, our annual services, which we offer to the public, which is upcoming, our Qingming Festival, which is geared towards our Asian community. It's kind of like the Memorial Day of our Asian community, where they celebrate their loved ones, what is also titled as Tomb Sweeping Day. That is coming up next week, April 4, and I invite you to come and see what the temple does and what the lion and dragon dancers do for our our chapel service, followed by their services that they provide outside at the cemetery. We also host our Memorial Day and Veterans Day service. SunsetHills is an exclusive East Side service provider where we host Memorial Day and Veterans Day, and we get a number of turnout. And when I mean number of turnout, if you come in early, you get parking. Our entire cemetery is filled with vehicles, and so the earlier you get, the better. But our Memorial Day and Veterans Day are handled by the U.S. Joint Command Volunteer Services and the Sons of Revolution, who take care of all of the details with the service itself. SunsetHills also provides, we host services for our Compassionate Friends. If you're not familiar with the organization, they hold services every year, typically in December. It's a candlelight service where parents honor their children. And it's a year over year, it's been a bigger service, and we're happy to be of service and hosting these services at Sunset. Other than that, I'm going to turn over to Vesper. Vesper will share more about what we do, why we do it, and why we're very passionate in what we do. Vesper.
Hi everyone, thank you for being here and allowing us to take a little bit of time with you. So as Sally said, my name is Vesper West. I've been with Dignity Memorial almost 14 years. I got into this profession because I was laid off, and my aunt, who was 44 years old, died unexpectedly. And none of us knew what her wishes were because she was young and she hadn't shared that with us. So after the impact of having to deal with the struggle of what did she want and did we do the right thing, and me being out of a job at the time, I realized that death and dying and passing away is not something that we usually talk about as a family, especially in the United States. It's very taboo. And I wanted to dedicate my career to helping other people understand how important it is to have these conversations with your loved ones while you're here with us. And so as a whole, even though we do have lots of events for the community that Sally just mentioned, we also have pre-planning and educational events. We do a version of what I'm about to explain to you guys. It's about an hour. I won't belabor it today, I'm just going to briefly go over it. But basically our mission is to educate families so that no one walks through our doors unprepared on one of the worst days of their life when they're stricken with grief. And so we do talk to families about thinking about this, and what will it be like for your family when you pass away? Have you had that conversation with them? When your friends and family gather, probably here at the church, how would you want to be remembered, and what sort of things would you want folks to say? I feel that when people pass away, it does affect everyone in the community and your family emotionally and financially. So we do have some simple ways to help people write down their wishes. Most people that we help, we find that their families say, especially if you have kids, Mom, I don't want to talk about that. If you're married, your spouse might say, honey, I don't want to think about you passing, right? That's very common. We do have something called a personal planning guide, which is a journal that we give away complimentary to families. And it is all inclusive. It has everything here that if you had this completely filled out and then you passed away the next day, your family would know exactly what your wishes are. So this is a way that we give back to the community by offering them a place to write things down. We also have a veterans planning guide for any veterans that may want veteran services as well. We have an abbreviated version of the personal planning guide in the folders in front of you folks. So if you would like to take those home with you, fill them out, and then if you're interested in more information about what pre-planning means and how you can pre-plan for yourself, we're certainly happy to get that information to you. It's a very personal thing, so everybody's different, and we have lots of options. Dignity Memorial We have traditional burial, traditional cremation. In Washington State, we have a few newer things. I'm not sure how the Lutheran Church feels about these new options, but we do have something called water cremation or aqua cremation. And we also have composting, which some folks do like because it's more of a green option, where the remains are essentially made into soil. So the end result is soil that can be given back to the earth. We also have, if someone is cremated, we also have a reef. There's a reef in Florida where you can have your ashes as part of the living reef. So there are lots of options for folks. And we just want to educate people with that and get that out to the public so they understand. Might not be what's right for you, but you know, nowadays there's so many options, right? There's like 500 soaps when you go to the store. Yes, ma'am.
Can you explain what a living reef is?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I wrote it down because it's pretty cool and I want to get it right here. So the reef, it's called Neptune Memorial Reef. It's a 3¼ miles off the eastern coast of Miami, Florida. And it was built as an artistic interpretation of the lost city of Atlantis. And it's considered the only underwater cemetery. And so it's a living reef where cremated remains are part of the reef. So it's very interesting how they've done that, but it's established. I don't know how many people are laid to rest there yet, but I know it's been going for, I want to say maybe 10 years now?
Maybe 10 to 15 years
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. So you do have to be cremated to be laid to rest there. But yeah, and the only one I know of is in Florida, so it's pretty interesting.
But it's the container that makes the reef, right? Not, I mean, the ashes themselves aren't going to make a reef.
Right. And it would be like a biodegradable that's part of the reef. Yeah. And if you want more information, I'm happy to get you more, but yeah.
I'm a science teacher and I was just
Oh.
curious.
Yes. Yeah, I've seen pictures of it, but I don't know exactly what the container is, but I think it must be part of the reef. Yeah. Good question, though. And then we also have something called space flight, where your ashes can be sent to space. They can orbit the Earth. So that's for also scientific type of people. But anyways, those are just some options that we have. Yes, ma'am.
What about the option of donating your body to the nearest medical school as a cadaver?
So we don't work directly with them, but that is an option, definitely. And if you want more information on that, I'm sure we could help you with that. I do know, I have a little bit of knowledge of this. It's not part of what Dignity offers, but there are stipulations of who can donate and things like that. So it just depends on the person and how they pass away. And there's a couple things like that. So even if you sign up to donate, not everyone is accepted. So it's good to have a backup plan, but that is also an option in Washington State. Good question, thank you. So I just kind of wanted to go over that and the personal planning guide. If anyone's interested in one of these, we're happy to get that for you or anyone else in your family. And we do encourage people to share their wishes. So, yes, ma'am.
What was the water composting you said?
Yeah, so there's water cremation and composting. So water cremation is similar to the traditional fire cremation, except it uses water and a chemical in order to break down the remains. And the end result is very similar to fire cremation, where the family does receive ashes back in an urn. It's about the same amount of ashes as a fire cremation. It's just the process that's a little bit different. It's just fire cremation traditionally, I think everybody knows what that is. Water cremation is kind of more like a gentle cycle, using liquid instead of fire. And then composting, the person's remains go to a company that we work with called Earth. And the composting it's about a 2-month process. And at the end of the process, the remains are processed with wood chips and flower pieces, So it's not like a regular compost that you would have in your garden, where that composting does take several months. This is more of a quick process. But at the end result, there is a large amount of dirt that is returned to the family. Some people put some in an urn, some people will put some in their garden. Some people donate it to a national forest, and so there's all kinds of options for that too. And if anybody wants more information specifically on pricing or how this works, we're happy to get that to you at any point. But thank you. These are all good questions. And yeah, these are all newer things. Not everywhere in the United States do they have those options. Washington is a little more free with what we're allowed to offer, as far as giving people choices of how they would like to be laid to rest. And so Dignity Memorial, Sunset Hills, we're part of a bigger network. And so if you wanted to utilize Sunset Hills for your arrangements, you can. And we're happy to help you with that. We also have other locations throughout Washington where we can help you at those locations as well, such as Greenwood in Renton, Cedar Lawns in Redmond, but we're the Bellevue location. And so we'd love for you guys to come and visit our cemetery and take a look. And we're happy to get you a personal planning guide or a veterans planning guide. And then once you fill this out, we do encourage you to share it with your loved ones, because if you don't fill it out and you don't share it, they won't know what your wishes are. And so it's very important to share this and let them know. And I do find this is a useful tool. I've sat in rooms with families that have lost a loved one that did not know what they wanted, and we're there for 2, 3, 4 hours. Sometimes we have to make a second appointment because the family just is so confused and grieving. Versus if this was filled out and they knew what their wishes were, it's still difficult, it's still sad, but they're so relieved that at least they knew they had a guide on what to do. So we definitely encourage folks to take care of this so you take some of that burden off of your loved ones. But like I said, in the worksheets, there's an advanced planning worksheet that you can go through, you can fill out. It allows you to record some of your wishes and just to think about what you might want if you were to pass away. Maybe some of you have already done this, and that's great. That's a great way to make sure your family doesn't have any questions when that time does come. So thank you all for being here. I don't know if there was anything else Sally had, or did anybody else have any questions about anything for us? You guys had some great questions, so thank you for that.
Vesper, can we talk about when client families do prearrange the ability to transfer for the national transfer?
Sure. So if anyone did prearrange with us, let's say they had their cremation or burial plan, even their plot or their cremation space here with us at Sunset Hills, if you were to move, because Dignity Memorial has, I think at this point, over 9,000 locations throughout the US and Canada. If you were to move to another state or a province in Canada, you could take that with you. So it is flexible. A lot of times if you buy a plot at a cemetery that's like a local cemetery or a city cemetery, you can't transfer it anywhere else, you'd have to sell it. So that's one thing that makes us a little bit different than other places, is that you're not necessarily stuck here if you end up moving or going somewhere else. Also, if you pre-plan, it does lock in the price for the day that you purchase it. So some folks had come to Sunset Hills and bought 5 plots in 1950. They bought the plots for maybe $500 each, and today those plots are $30,000. So because of the increase over time and inflation, but when their family comes in to lay them to rest, their family doesn't pay today's prices because when they bought them, the price was locked in at the 1950 price. So that's a huge benefit of pre-planning as well, no matter what your wishes are, is if you do it in advance, it locks in the price. You also can make payments over time, whereas if a death occurs, unfortunately, we have to have the payment in full because we have to provide the services. So pre-planning definitely gives you an option of a little more flexibility financially, and also it it solidifies what your wishes are, so your family knows exactly what you want, and they don't have to make a million decisions at the time. They might just have to pick the color of flowers or the program or the songs or the things like that. But you can even write those things down in the personal planning guide if you don't want them to have to think about anything. So we do have a lot of other benefits. We have, Sally mentioned compassionate care. We do have grief support. We have licensed grief counselors 24 hours a day for all the families that come into our care and their families for a year after the service. And those folks are available 24 hours a day. So we find that if you lose a spouse, that's one of the most devastating things, and you roll over and they're not next to you, you can call our grief counselors at 2 a.m. and somebody will be there to talk to you and walk you through it. So we do have a lot of offerings such as this, the transferability that Sally mentioned, our grief resources, and then locking in the price of the funeral and cemetery or cremation options. Yes.
So, if I understand you, you can prepay until, and if you die, then the remainder of that and then is due right then in order for you to do the service.
We sort of, yes. That's a great question. So, yes, however, some of our plans are held in an insurance policy, so it's based on your age and your health. So if you're making payments and you're on and it's for a funeral plan, if it's with the insurance, and you pass away, sometimes the insurance will cover the remaining balance, depending on the plan. With the cemetery, if you're making payments on a cemetery plot, there are restrictions to this, but Dignity Memorial will pay up to $5,000 to help you cover it. And we have that as a benefit as well. But yes, technically when somebody passes, they would have to pay the remaining balance if those things weren't in place. So yes, that's a great question, and that's why it's very good to kind of get things started. And some people say, well, I have life insurance, I don't have to worry about that. Life insurance is great. We're very glad folks have life insurance. However, personally, with my story with my Aunt Jackie who died, she had insurance through her work when she died, and we didn't even get the payout on the insurance for it took 2 weeks to get her death certificate, which isn't common. SunsetHills can get it faster, but at that time, and then we didn't even get the payout till we sent the death certificate in and got paid. So we all had to put money together. I think back then, I don't even think GoFundMe was a thing. My family just put money together and then we got reimbursed later. So insurance is great when you have it, but it might not be available in time for the funeral. So that's why we have a specialized insurance that covers the funeral. And it also isn't just a bucket of money. It actually, pre-planning the funeral, you could actually say, I want this casket, I want this urn, I want these flowers. So those specific things that you've picked out are exactly in that plan, and the insurance money just covers it. So not only does it relieve the financial burden, it also relieves a lot of the emotional decision making, because what we see frequently is that when a death occurs, nothing's pre-planned, people will spend more money because they just are grieving and they don't know what to do, versus if it was already decided for them, they don't need to worry about it, and they don't feel any guilt or any having to think under pressure to make a decision that may be more than you wanted them to spend, right? So there's a lot of huge benefits to this, and I really encourage folks to try to either pre-plan or at least write down what your wishes are, so your family members can have that knowledge and have stuff in your handwriting. I've had folks come in and say, oh, my mom wrote a letter to me in the back of this book, it's so sweet, or anything in grandma's handwriting is just a gift and a blessing. So I've seen it all kinds of ways, and every time this guide is filled out, it's just such a relief to families. So I highly encourage folks to allow us to get you one of those. Thank you for that question. Yes?
I was noticing about this away from home protection, which I had never thought about before, but it looks like if you don't have insurance, it could be like, say, from South Korea. If somebody died in South Korea and they wanted to bring the body back to Seattle area, $10,000 to move a body?
It can be, and so that's a ballpark figure.
And how does your insurance work?
So the travel protection, it's $599. It's a one-time fee, and it covers you no matter where you go in the world your whole life. So in my personal experience, I had a family who her husband went to Canada for what do you call that? What do you call those when you ride on the jet ski thing with the snow? I don't know. He went on a trip where he was going through a snowy area, and then he fell down a crevasse and he passed away, and it was completely unexpected. Getting him back just from Canada, just our neighbor over the border, he didn't have the travel protection. Took about 3.5 weeks because of all the red tape with the foreign consulate. And it wasn't $10,000, but it was a pretty good chunk. I want to say she had to pay about $5,000 just to get everything done and him transported over. So even just being in Canada can be a lot of money, but especially if you're overseas. So what the travel protection company does is they work with the foreign consulate, wherever the person is. They figure out the closest funeral home to the place of death. They coordinate with that funeral home to get the person transported back here, and they cover the airline fee. So a lot of that cost that you see estimated $10,000, some of that's the airline fee, some of it's with the funeral home over there, some of it's a foreign consulate fee. It's just kind of a rough estimate. But yeah, it can be anywhere from, I would say at this point, $5,000 to $20,000, depending on the time of year. Traveling during the holidays is more expensive for living people on a plane and also decedents on a plane. So it just kind of depends. But yeah, if you have,
That's a lot of money.
it is. And I'm a believer in the travel protection. I bought it for myself and my whole family when I started with this company. So that way, even my son, I'm like, he's older now, but at the time I was like, we just all have to have this just in case. I don't want to have to deal with it. So yeah, it's a really great product that we offer. So, and some people just go on cruises. Sometimes you go, random places that you're taking vacation. It will cover you no matter where you are in the world. So, thank you. Good question. And then, did you have a question? I think we lost the choir, folks. I think. Yes.
I know of someone that is intern buried at Sunset, and I've lost track of where her grave is. How can I find it?
So we just need her name, and we can go look her up and then locate her. And then if you want to come visit, we'll have the map ready and we can take you out to see her site. If you want to give us the name before we leave, I can go out and check and make sure her headstone's clean, and though I know where it is, and then we can take you out there if you want to come visit anytime. And anyone that you know that's laid to rest there, we can find them in our we basically have a database of every person that's been laid to rest there. So if you just give us the name, we should be able to find them, no problem. Yeah, thank you.
And then I have a morbid curiosity thing. Someone mentioned the other day, whose father had recently passed away, that they had, when they buried him, that there had to be a cement vault.
Right, so SunsetHills and most modern cemeteries do require something called a vault or an outer burial container. So if you go to older cemeteries, like pioneer cemeteries and things like that, that didn't require vaults, it's very dangerous to walk because a lot of times people were buried in a wood casket. And over time, the wood does break down. And so there could be sinkholes in the cemetery. That's why we do require the casket to be placed in a concrete container that is called an outer burial container. And what that does, it just maintains the integrity of the ground so that as families come and visit and walk over, they don't have any worry about any cave-in. We have different types of vaults. Very simple concrete, which is the minimum we require. Some cultures and some families prefer a vault that's sealed. So we have different types of vaults, everything from stainless steel to bronze, etc. But the basic concrete one is required by our cemetery, and it's really just for the safety of folks that come visit as they're walking over the graves. So that's a good question. There's a lot of products and services that we do offer that families don't really know about. As I said when I started speaking, this isn't something we commonly talk about. So it's important for us to help people get the word out of all the things that are needed in order to lay someone to rest. So thank you for asking. That's a great question. If someone is laid to rest, we also have above ground placement for caskets called mausoleum placement. If someone is in a mausoleum, they wouldn't need that outer burial container. And we do have 2 mausoleums at Sunset Hills that have caskets and urn placement there. So I do encourage folks to come out and take a tour with us if you're curious. It's a beautiful area. It's very peaceful. It's a memorial park, which means most of our headstones are flat. We do have some upright monument stones in some places, but most of it's like a park-like setting with trees and a lovely view of Bellevue and Seattle. So it's very calm and peaceful there. So if anybody wanted to come out and take a look around, we can make an appointment and show you folks around.
And when will the flags go up for Memorial Day weekend?
We will have flags ready typically a week before services.
Did we talk about the scouts that come out? Or?
So we have volunteer boys and Girl Scouts. We have volunteer boys and Girl Scouts come out and plant flags in all of our veterans' graves. We have about, I'm careful to say, about 3,200 to 3,400 veterans laid to rest at Sunset. And so this Saturday weekend before Memorial Day on the Monday, the volunteers come out and plant flags, and you're invited to come too. It's good fun. You get to see a lot of the kids have a good time, and we have pizza and ice cream that we provide afterwards. But we do the same on Veterans Day, but with Veterans Day, it's the day of. Simply because the weather in November is a little bit more cold and rainy, and we try not to have the kids out and exposed to the weather during that time. But like I said, we hold our Memorial Day service on Monday, I want to say it's May 26th at 11 o'clock. As we get closer to the dates, I'll be bringing over flyers just to invite the rest of the congregation if they want. Oftentimes we have a lot of guests who bus in their elderly, residents, or folks who do try and come in. Like I said, parking in the park it's not challenging because I have team members to assist with that, but it can get very, very busy and very crowded as we hold the Memorial Day services outside. Veterans Day service is held indoors, and it's almost always a pack and then standing room service. We have the Compassionate Friends service. Again, this is in December. They hold candlelight vigils and really dedicate the services for children who parents have lost over the years. So we hope to have more public services. One that's just coming off my head is perhaps doing a wine walk in the park for the summertime, or a car show in the park in the summertime. Something to encourage the younger folks who may want to enjoy taking a look at vintage vehicles and maybe taste a couple of selected wines. But we are always happy to have families or clients come in and just to talk about our park and perhaps pre-planning, or I had a friend who is ill and I'm trying to get and gather some information. My team, Vesper, Christian, we're all here to help and support and serve our neighbors. So thank you. And thank you for allowing us to be here again.
So if anybody does want any more information, Christian is happy to provide information for you guys. Just let us know after we're done speaking. If you have any more questions that maybe you didn't want to ask openly, we're happy to help you answer your questions or provide information about pre-planning or our park or find your friend in our cemetery or whatever the case may be. So thank you very much.
Great, thank you very, very much for coming. We appreciate it. Thank you. And I know you said it at the beginning, how many acres are?
59 acres.
59 acres.
There's only 35 acres that's being utilized.
Okay.
We're right out there.
I know you are.
That's where like the view comes in.
And do you have wild critters wandering through, like deer?
Oh, yes. Yes, I have video, I have proof, because we have a lot of plant families.
Tell us about the critters.
We have a lot of deer, we have beavers too, rabbits, a ton of rabbits. Well, we have a feline and a cat just wandering the park. Yeah, and we have bobcats, yes, we do. So we have a lot of wildlife in our park. Birds, ducks, geese, everything we have. Yeah.
And what hours?
So we're open from dawn till dusk. The cemetery is, and then our funeral home, we're open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 5, and then on Saturday, 9 to 4. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.